second week of September. MEAD. Welcome everybody to the show. I'm Tom Connors. With me, as always, is Script Doctor, the Fifth Beatle.
What's up? How's it going, everybody?
How you doing, man? It's been a heck of a day. We got a lot going on here to talk about. Hope you're doing well.
I am. I hope you're all doing well.
Glad to hear it. We also have the man with the hair, Culture Casino. How you doing, sir?
Very well, yeah. Despite some of the bad news, we have something really exciting to look forward to. So I have bated breath right now.
Yeah, we have some sad news to start with, but we're going to get into some really exciting news as we get going here. Also with us today is a filmmaker, actor, you name it, he does it. He's a jack of all trades, Mr. Tom Konkle. How you doing? A very special guest. We love to have you here. How you been, man?
I'm good. I was in Europe working on a project. I got back a couple days ago, so my body's still adjusting, but I'm really glad to be here, and I'm looking forward to talking to you and getting some of that news and talking about things. It's been too long.
Absolutely. And also joining us, the other man of the hour, Andre. How you doing?
Greetings, everyone. I'm doing good. Currently finding myself in my car.
As you can hear, he's on his mobile because he just left the theater, and I wonder what he just saw. We're going to talk about that just a little bit. But first, we got a super chat from Zontar, who sends in $2 Canadian, who says, come on, just launched a Motu board game Kickstarter. Or CMON, is that what it is? Okay. Yeah, I saw that. I think it was Diego who sent me the picture of that. It looks interesting. I'm not a huge board game fan, but hey, it's Motu and it looks good. And it's based on the classics. So without further ado, we're going to get into some of this news. First and foremost, we got Jesse here as well, who was running just a tad behind, but you're just in time to start the show. Welcome.
Yay! Long day.
Jesse, meet Tom Konkle. I don't think you've ever met.
Hello, Tom. How do you
Hello,
do?
Jesse. How are you?
I think we were on your birthday stream.
Yes.
Oh, yes,
I
did
did
meet
meet you on
yes,
the
you
birthday
did.
stream.
Okay.
That's right.
I just wanted to make sure. I hate when I don't introduce people, but
I appreciate it.
I can remember shit.
see now, Jess, either it sounds like you're coming through the wrong mic or you might be just a tad far away. But other than that, we're doing good. Hopefully you're doing well. But we got some sad news to kick off the show tonight. We lost one of the funniest guys, and this one hit me pretty hard when I found out about this earlier on Culture Show. Norm Macdonald passed away.
What?
At
Yeah.
the age of
He's
61. Young. I guess apparently he'd been battling cancer for the last 9 years.
Wow.
We lost Tom.
The things you don't know.
Hopefully he will be back. But yeah, here he is. Yes.
Yeah.
Welcome back. But sad news.
Sad news. Oh.
Very, very sad and unexpected, of course. And of course, our thoughts and prayers go out to his family and close ones. And God, he was just one of the funniest guys ever.
Yeah.
And I just want to take a moment for everybody to just kind of speak their mind on it real quick, and then we'll get into the news. But yeah, it was a shocking thing to hear earlier when the news dropped. Script, have you ever got to meet the guy? Or
no, I never got to meet him, but I have performed on same stages as him back when I had to do all my weird acting electives. But one of my favorite memories of Norm Macdonald is his epic monologue when he came back to host Saturday Night Live after he'd been fired.
Right, after he dropped the F-bomb, yeah.
Well, no, it wasn't even just that. It was also the fact that he was one of the head writers of the series at the time when he was doing Weekend Update. And then they fired him primarily for the reason of being is that, audiences claimed that he wasn't funny. But the season he was on was also not a very good season.
That's the thing is Norm, I feel like, and I said this earlier on Culture's thing, I feel like there was this, like Hollywood was trying to keep him down. Like they just didn't want him to happen. Like no matter what, people liked him. I never met anybody who really didn't like Norm Macdonald, right?
Yeah.
But it was just like, for some reason, Hollywood just had this vendetta against him. They would bury his movies. Even Screwed wasn't as bad as the world made it out to be when it came out. But Dirty Work is one of my favorites. And then we lost Jesse here, but I think he was having some audio issues.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, go ahead, Tom. Have you ever met him?
Yeah, I met him a couple of times in LA. For me, he was one of the few comedians who had like an absolutely perfect delivery. Like, I think one of the reasons that maybe he didn't catch on is that he was just a little bit ahead of his time, and that his act or his bit, his whole shtick was so dry and so on point. I mean, even down to like just the weird Burt Reynolds impression, just stuff like that. That there was something about him that made him very special. That I think no one knew what to do with him.
That could be.
You know, he was a great guest, like on Conan O'Brien. I remember there was this one where Courtney Thorne Smith, I think, was on it. And it was like 97 or something like that. And he just destroyed Conan. Just he would act so dim and ask questions. You know, they'd be talking about Melrose Place for about 10 minutes. And you go, wait a minute, are you talking about Melrose Place? And they
We got to say it right. Wait a minute.
Yeah, wait.
Melrose Place.
Yeah, there was a place on Melrose. I had a Melrose Place. There were fat people, retards that were taking pictures of the sign. You know, they're like, that has nothing to do with what we're talking about. So there was
pretty ladies live there.
Yeah, he was great because nothing was sacred to him, and he was so dry. And 61 is far too young.
God,
and
yes.
I didn't realize he was struggling for 9 years with cancer.
Yeah, I guess that's the case. He kept it from his family and his friends.
Yeah, it just that's, you know,
he never looked sick or anything. You know, like
No.
So he must have been dealing with it pretty well for the most
It was
part.
kind of like the Black Panther guy. It's like he just kept
Boseman,
working and just kept going and then dropped, and that was it. And it's a shock. It makes you feel your mortality, I'll tell you that.
Clearly does. Only 61 years old. And Stephen Otten says, "Hail Tom, Andre, Tom Konkle, Script Culture, Jesse Wrenches, and Chat, Rip Norm McDonald. I hope Andre has good news for us." I do too, but Andre, I'm going to get to Culture here in a second too, because we already talked to you about it earlier, Culture, so I'll save you for last. But Andre, I'm not so sure if you even really know much about Norm MacDonald outside of Orville. Have you seen any of his films? Or I know you're not a big SNL person, but of course it probably doesn't translate well over there.
Well, that depends on the skit in question. As it happens, I am familiar with Norm MacDonald, so I know of him. What I've seen of him, I quite liked, but I cannot claim any kind of expert knowledge. But like that he's gone at only 61. That's like, yeah, it is shocking, and that he struggled with it for 9 years. But the beauty is that he survived with something that's out to destroy you for 9 years. Now we don't know how much he suffered in private, but yeah, I always liked Norm MacDonald. I would have liked to see more of his stuff. So maybe that would be a nice way to honor him. Me actually now, long overdue, checking out some more of his stuff.
Yes.
I mean, that's the thing is like Dirty Work is a very underrated classic in my opinion, and it got just completely ignored by the studio at the time it was brought out. And you know, like I said, Screwed's even better than it gets credit for. Culture, we talked a little bit about it earlier, but I know this kind of hit you a little bit too earlier, as far as like not just the shocking part, but you know, you're a fan.
Yeah, I was a huge fan. Like I said, I always wanted to try to imitate his delivery, which is impossible. I mean, Tom Konkle was talking about it just a moment ago. I don't know how you do it. I love playing a straight man, and he did it better than anybody in the world. You know, at least, you know, that was living at the time. And I loved his delivery, the dry, wry humor, and brilliant. The guy was brilliant. He's like Dennis Miller, only different. I mean, you know, it's just like we had these brilliant guys at SNL for a period of time, and Norm was one of them. And
he could play very charming assholes.
Oh,
yes.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I remember when he did Note to Self. That always cracked me up.
Well, this is a guy that was planning, just like Chadwick Boseman. He was planning on being at the comedy festival in November.
Yeah, he was doing a Netflix special.
He was
planning a Netflix.
Yeah, he's still planning on working, you know, and so that tells you, you know, it's you never know when something's going to change and your plans are abandoned.
So yeah, Jesse, you just heard this. This is just fresh to you. Yeah, he just died earlier, or the news came out today. I don't know if he passed away last night.
It makes a lot of things make more sense. Like, how come he stopped being Death on Family Guy, and like, you know, he kind of hasn't been doing much lately? Well, he was sick.
Yeah, it's a shame. It really is. That one hit me hard today.
Yeah, and we've talked about him quite often. So yeah, I mean, especially when he was Yaphet, he was always one of the parts we loved quite a bit on Orville. So yeah.
Yeah.
He will be missed. And Professor Gray says with $2, Tom, we love you all. Tell us about Dune. We're going to get there. I got to hold you guys in a little bit of suspense. We got to get a few more people in here yet. Then I will. Valiant Renegade says, oh, good. Andre is here. I'll repeat this. I hate you a lot. Screw you for getting to see Dune today. I'm beyond jealous. Sigh. Okay, smash that like. Yes, we're going to talk about Dune very, 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 very soon. Jorge Barracuda says, long live Norm Macdonald. Screw cancer and wokeism. Yes, indeed. I agree. We did get some other quick bits of news today I'm going to bring up. First, I guess Triplets got a green light, but it's not going to be with Eddie Murphy. Arnold Schwarzenegger, Danny DeVito, and Ivan Reitman are back, but now it's going to be Tracy Morgan instead of Eddie Murphy. So this is interesting news.
This isn't going to be annoying as hell.
I like Tracy Morgan, but
not for 2 hours.
Script also brought up the interesting point that I keep saying is that he's too young, at least by 10 or 20 years. Or more.
Yeah, Eddie would have been a more age appropriate.
Well, even Eddie was kind of too young, but he always played older. That's the thing.
Yeah, you could age him up. Yeah, well, we'll see.
That's the new interesting news there. I'm looking forward to it, I guess, especially if Ghostbusters is good, because I guess Ivan's going to direct.
Oh, Ivan's directing.
I guess so. That's the way I took it.
Wow.
Okay. Getting back in the saddle. That's good.
Speaking of age, he's in his 70s.
Movies, He brings up "Screw Your Freedom," Arnold. Yep, won't be seeing that.
Yeah.
Arnold made himself cancer, and screw cancer.
There is that aspect. But other than that, there was some other Conan news, speaking of Conan, but we're going to get into that after we talk about Dune. Andre.
Yes.
You have an editorial coming out here, hopefully sooner than later.
Hopefully, because it's an editorial that would have helped if I had seen the movie before making it. So, yeah, let's hope we can put that out really soon. Fingers crossed for that.
So, yes, but without getting into too many spoilers up front, how was the film?
It's big. It's a very, very big movie. It's a movie that I feel needs a little bit time to digest. It's quite like it's big and a bit like mind-blowing and overblown in some ways. Like it absolutely is a movie that needs to be seen on the biggest screen possible. This is not a movie that was made to be seen at home. I think if you see it for the first time on HBO Max, where it eventually is going to be released simultaneously as the US theatrical release, you'll actually be kind of doing yourself a disservice. This is a movie that has such a visual scope, not just visually. It's the same thing with the audio impression. It's such a loud movie, and the visual or the auditory image, just the sound, is such a big part of the experience. This is not a movie that I would have wanted to see for the first time in my own home. I'm very, very glad I saw this in IMAX. At the same time, it's a movie that I think it's difficult to assess. And I'm very glad that I got to speak with someone afterwards who weren't familiar with the books in advance. Because I know the books, I've read the script, and I felt I'm a little bit too close to this to be able to properly give an objective analysis of the movie itself. So I spoke with some relative normies, not to film in general, but to Dune, and they freaking loved it. They were completely mind blown with how amazing the movie was. So they spoke of it as an experience, like something that you go to experience, and they were absolutely mind blown.
Oh, that's good. That's good to hear.
So that's the point of view from two people that weren't familiar with the source material. Because that's like a question that I had after seeing this. I was like thinking, yeah, I like this. And I know the people that have read the books, they're going to like this. But this is a movie that places the emphasis on atmosphere more so than the narrative.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very atmospheric movie. So
Which is
I was
very
like
Denis
thinking,
Villeneuve. Yeah,
yeah,
that's very his
exactly.
style.
So I was like thinking, the general moviegoer, how are they going to respond to this? Because this is a movie which is very much about feeling, intuition. But if you don't know the story, how much are you going to be able to follow it? Part of me think, regardless of those two guys I spoke with who were completely blown away by it, I think that many in the general audience are going to struggle a little bit with following the narrative. Because the movie, I think, can best be described as dreamlike. The whole movie kind of feels dreamlike in a way.
So if somebody doesn't know Dune from anything, they won't even really get the full encompassing thing till the end of the second movie.
I don't know. I can't say, because again, that's a mindset that I can't go into. The two guys that I spoke with, they said that they had no problems following the story. But of course, I didn't ask them to relay it to me. I don't
Yeah,
know if
exactly.
they actually did. I didn't know if they actually did get the story, or if they were just so mind blown by the visuals and the atmosphere. But one of them said that he absolutely hated Blade Runner 2077 or whatever year it was.
2049.
49, yeah, thank you. Because he compared it to that movie. Because this is someone who does know his film, and he hated Blade Runner 2049 because it had many things in common with this movie. However, it messed up the balance a little bit. Whereas this one, he said, was just tuned perfectly. So it became an experience. But as for me, I am a little bit mixed on it. And I think part of that is having read the script. Because many of the scenes in the script that I felt were absolutely amazing, the ones that actually impressed me the most in how they were able to relay the story and the narrative, they weren't there. They weren't in the movie.
Oh, they got cut.
And yeah, either they were cut from the script before filming happened, or they were cut in the editing bay. But script, all
the
those
original
brilliant
Dune cut.
scenes that relay the story so magnificently to the audience, they're not there.
Well, the original Dune cut was 5.5 hours, so I imagine it probably was cut. It was shot and probably cut.
Quite possibly. Quite possibly.
How amazing, though, that you're saying we have a movie that's challenging, that asks something of the viewer, that gives you something to think about. I mean, this is exactly what we've been wishing for, is something a little different, a little non-traditional, that's immersive, that you actually have to think about. I don't have a problem with that. That the movie asks me to meet it halfway is, for me, a positive, because it means there's some thought in it. It's a movie made for grown-ups.
That's also gives you engagement as well, because if you're invested into it to actually, start thinking about what you're watching, and you don't feel like you're being lectured to, that usually comes with a positive experience.
True. It'll get richer as you think about it. I love movies where you can go somewhere and sit and talk about it and get people's different perspectives, that you don't feel like it was spoon-fed to you. That's really good news.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of perspectives, we got a couple super chats here, and we got tons of questions in the chat. So we're going to probably step over into spoiler territory. Not that you can really spoil a story that's this old, but
True
just
that.
I want to
50
give
plus years at least.
I want to give the warning out there. We are going to spoil probably aspects of the film. But again, I don't think too many of you are worried about that. Crass Socks sends in $9.99. Thank you so much for that. Says, okay, thanks for the review. Sounds like I have a movie I want to see finally. So yeah, if some people want to check out, totally understand. Don't want you to, but if you do, please hit that like button on the way out the door. We'd appreciate it. Professor Gray coming in with another $2 says, so Lord of the Rings or Avengers? I guess that's a bold question to ask, but there you go. Andre, is it more? Which one is it more like?
Of the two, it's more like Lord of the Rings. However, I don't think either comparison is a fair one, because both of those were very commercially accessible movies. This one is a far more intellectual movie. And I think that in some ways is going to limit its broad appeal, because it isn't the kind of feel-good movie that either The Avengers is, or, well, maybe it's going to be as engaging, but I think it's going to be engaging to less people than was Lord of the Rings. Of movies to compare with, the closest comparison is actually David Lynch's Dune, only more epic and more grandiose.
But you keep saying it's a very big movie. Like, do you think?
Yes,
it has
very big. What I mean with that,
cinematography, like Lord of the Rings,
yes.
or okay,
It's a big scene.
that I like. I like to see the world. I like to. Be
You're
in
going
the
to
world.
absolutely love the world. The world is amazing. The designs are spectacular. Like, one of my favorite scenes in the movie, and like, this isn't really spoiling any story or anything like that, but just in terms of the designs, and that's like the Arrakeen, the capital of Arrakis.
Mm-hmm.
Just seeing that city and everything that has gone into designing it, that this is actually a desert city. It's mind-blowing design, and it looks so huge, so massive. And there's like this aerial shot of the city, and I could feel it in the balanced nerve. Like, it almost felt a little bit like being in a simulator, watching that. So that was amazing. And also the designs, like the ornithopters. They have like a big role, not a role per se, but they're prominently featured in the movie, and the designs of those are spectacular. Hell, we need some of those in our reality.
That's great. So they gave a lot of thought to world building, and it really feels like he
very
captured
much
the
so.
feeling. That's
Speaking
terrific.
of world building, how many worlds do we see? How many families do we see? What they give
You
us?
only see two.
There's a huge
Well,
backstory.
actually, let's see. Obviously you see Caladan, you see Dune, you see glimpses of Gidi Prime and of Seleucia Secundus.
That's a lot, actually.
Mark sends in $5 and asks, "Hey Andre, how was Hans Zimmer's score for Dune?"
It was epic. I will say that.
Please tell me it's not a bunch of stuff.
That's exactly what it is. That's all it is. Absolutely nonstop.
No,
there's no melody or like there's no melody you're going to be hitting with. It's just like blaring noises throughout.
So much for that soundtrack.
Well, didn't I read that Hans Zimmer wanted to create music that didn't use the traditional scale?
He's been doing that for the last 10 fucking years.
Yeah, but he wanted music that sounded like it was from another planet, literally.
Look, everything's going to be monochromatical
from another planet.
It's going to be stepwise and monochromatical.
Oh man, you got to compete with Toto in this.
So it was a score in
I loved Inception. I thought he did a great job with Inception.
Oh, the Inception score is much better.
So the Dune score is in the key of D for the entire film.
D minor, probably.
Well, now you're talking Latin to me.
I've D minor is like the sad, pretty key.
It's the saddest of all keys.
It's like you have like desert blaring, and you have like epic blaring, but they're all kind of like instrumental blaring. It's kind of like industrial music in a way. It's like there's like only at one point in the movie was there anything resembling melody. Plus, when the Fremen are like screaming "Haba Nagila" or whatever is, and they're saying like from the trailer, like that's the closest thing you get to any kind of a melody. I would have liked some kind of melody, but there's nothing like that there.
There's supposed to be all these families. Each family should have a leitmotif that's like some kind of regal thing that's relative to their family and their story.
If there was, I wasn't able to recognize the individual family blaring. There might have been, but I wasn't able to pick it up because there was like no melody or anything that I was able to pick up.
That original film soundtrack was one of the things I loved prior to ever really loving the film.
Oh, the original Dune soundtrack.
Yeah, so that's
that's a great soundtrack. Toto and Brian Eno worked on that as well.
Yeah, also Brian Eno did the desert theme, and that's the thing is I love Hans Zimmer's old shit. For the last 10, 15, 20 years, he's done nothing but make noise. I don't care what you call it.
It's just noise. It's just noise. It's epic noise, but
some
it's
of
just
his
noise.
latter ones here, and I'm just like, how does anybody say that his scores are better than any of the classic scores? Is beyond me.
No, that's beyond me. And he is someone that I think has gotten worse. I mean, like, for instance, if you look at Interstellar, his score is the best part of that movie.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas here, it did fit the scene. I will give it that, but it doesn't have like that Toto quality to it. It really doesn't.
Well, it's nothing you can hum to, and people will recognize. Oh, that's Dune.
No, nothing.
Well, to a certain extent, too, a composer is asked to do that. For example, Hans Zimmer did Blade Runner 2049, and Denis said, I want it very atonal. I don't want to compete with the Vangelis score. I wonder if he really got a mandate to say, look, I want industrial sounds that sound unlike any pleasant chords. And he did what was asked, but it just doesn't necessarily strike us as pleasing, to the ear. That may be less him and more that's what he was told to do.
Could be,
and that could very well be. And like this is like the score, and I use the term lightly. It fits the images, but if you remove it from the images, this is not something you would want to listen to. Like you wouldn't want to bring this on your smartphone and like listen to it. You would do that with the music from the 1984 Dune. But you would not want to bring this and just you'll get like a toothache in no time.
No,
I get that. I get that.
He wasn't rushed in writing this, was he?
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
They've had an extra year to flex with it too.
I had plenty of time.
Well, and that's the thing is like again, I get it. You're not going to do a same score, and I don't expect the same themes to even pop up.
No, but you're a famous composer. Explore
epic motherfucking score for something like this. I mean,
yeah, no, there isn't one. Like the only thing that like kind of like resembled a melody a tiny little bit reminded me of like in Battlestar Galactica, the new series, when they played like that all along the Watchtower. The closest thing reminded me a little bit of that.
Okay,
there's like in one scene where there's something like that. That was like the closest thing that's resembling any kind of melody.
Andre, I wanted to ask you something. Something I noticed in a clip, the fight, where they're using the shield fight. It's the lack of use of music that to me sometimes made it seem more immediate and visceral and real. Was his choice not to use music also important? Do you feel like it was effective when it was quote unquote more realistic, that it wasn't scored?
I honestly don't recall places where there was no score. There might have been.
Yeah, I noticed.
But, like
online.
Thinking back, I feel like there was like some noise and blaring in the background almost nonstop throughout.
Oh,
and
interesting.
if not like massive blaring, then like some violins or something still only made noise. There were very few moments of like pure silence because the whole movie felt dreamlike, and the music was a big part of that.
Well, I'm going to ask the big $1 million question, and then we're going to get back into super chats here. Was it woke?
No.
There you go.
Unless, there's nothing at all woke about the narrative itself. Yeah. So all the stuff that they've been saying about, we're so woke, and Villeneuve is such a feminist, and Frank Herbert didn't do good enough. They're all just words. Good. I mean, unless you like count there being women and black people in the movie, if that's your bar, that's a really low one. Then yeah, like there's plenty diversity in the cast and stuff like that. But in terms of the narrative, like it's not like it's still Paul's story. It's not like that he's like passive in the background while everyone is saving him. And like these usual typical like woke tropes of like evil useless men and the woman taking over everything that wasn't already in the books. No, there's none of that. Everything that you would say is, oh, that's woke. Chances are it's in the book.
Well, that's good news. That's good.
Yeah.
What? How did they handle the Harkonnens, and how was the performances, the acting?
Was all around solid. All around solid. The one that I thought was best in the movie is actually Javier Bardem, who played Stilgar. Surprisingly, he was the one that stood out the most to me. And Raban, the Beast Raban, was really good. What's his name again? Like the wrestler, the Drax, David Bautista.
Dave Bautista.
Dave Bautista.
Yeah.
Oh, he was good, huh?
Yeah, he was. I thought he was really good. Of course, he doesn't get many scenes, but the scenes that he did get, he has like one little freak out, and he's really good in that.
Yeah.
I wanted to see more of the Baron. I mean, he is someone that I think could have been tremendously good, but we never get to see what kind of genius he actually is. He's just like fat and disgusting, and he obviously knows what's going on, but you don't get to see it.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
You don't get to see him scheming. You
Is
see
he
like
all,
the end
gross
result
and
of it.
diseased?
No, just fat, and not ridiculously fat or anything like that. You mean you have like plenty fat people that are much fatter than he is there.
Well,
Any
the
other
disease. I was just going to say the disease thing was actually more added in.
Yeah, it's
Lynch's-
something that was added in later, and it's not really in this movie that he's deceased anyway. He's just obese, and that's really it.
I just enjoyed that, like the big pus balls on his face were like an extension of how
That's David.
gross he was as a human being.
Well, that was
Yeah,
more
he does not have space AIDS in this one.
I was gonna say, that was more so.
AIDS.
That was
Lynch.
David Lynch commenting on AIDS at
Yeah.
the time, actually.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we have a super chat here on the screen from Adam Wolfert. How you doing? Sends in $10. Thank you so much. Says, hey, I have a crazy ass idea. How about you guys do a dramatic reading of Dune? Andre as Baron Vladimir and Tom Glossu Beast Raban, or Mr. H could voice Baron Vladimir. Well, it depends on if maybe we could do the is there an actual script for like the Jodorowsky Dune or something like that? Maybe we do that.
No, there was no actual script as far as I know for Jodorowsky's Dune.
I was gonna say
I
I don't
never
think
got
there
that
was.
far.
I don't know if there's any earlier.
Made a giant like
different-
storyboard Bible.
It's
but,
that the huge storyboard Bible. Exactly. That's kind of like what it is. That's
Yeah.
that's
Otherwise, I don't know if there was
right
any other versions of Dune over the years or not. We'd have to look.
Oh, there are. I have the script for several of them.
But ones that are actually interesting enough to do a script reading of, maybe we'll have to see.
Well, maybe the very first one, the one that predates Jodorowsky's Dune.
Oh yes,
I do believe
Yeah.
I have the script for that somewhere.
that would be a fun read. I
It's
would
a
do
good
that.
thing
with
that
you.
you guys just randomly stockpiled scripts your whole lives. It's pretty handy.
Yeah.
But
Really
I also have the script for Peter Berg's Aborted Dune that he was trying to do like in the early 2010s before he did Battleship, and that all went to hell.
That might be too new yet, but we might be able to get away with that. Commander Ed Straker of Shadow says, damning with faint praise, is it at least a coherent film that is watchable, unlike David Lynch's piece of shit? No narrative. That's what Dune won.
Yeah. It is. I would say that it has a far more clear and concise narrative than the theatrical cut of Dune and the extended cut. But I honestly do feel that that Spice Divers ultimate version of Dune, like the alternate edition Redux, has a clearer and easier to follow narrative than did this movie.
So I guess that's the other big question. How does it compare to Lynch's Dune then?
Story-wise, again, it's a matter of which version that you're comparing to. Story-wise, I honestly feel that the Spice Diver fan edit of it actually has a stronger narrative. Second to that comes this movie. This movie here also is more epic in terms of designs, but I do feel that the Lynch movie was more interesting in its designs. This movie is extremely grounded,
Do you think that that's
extremely
because
realistic.
we've seen so much sci-fi and sci-fi designs at this point that it doesn't seem
partially, because yeah, that's partially it. But this one is so grounded, so based in reality. Like, if you were to build like a city on an actual desert planet, it would probably look something like this. If you were to build an actual ornithopter and they were amazing, it would look like that.
I like that.
So it's extremely grounded, but I feel that at times that was a little bit to its detriment, because many of the designs and the sets in the Lynch movie, to me, were more exciting. And that's because they weren't realistic.
So it's like they got city
but that's an
planning down,
individual
but they
thing.
forgot culture and art.
Well, it's more like there was a movement in architecture called brutalism, which is almost a kind of minimalism. It seems like it's influenced by that.
Yes,
it's more
exactly.
brutalism.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's very brutalist in its designs, whereas the Lynch movie is very obviously a movie. Like, you wouldn't have anything like that in actual reality. Whereas anything in this movie you could kind of like buy as being from reality.
Right.
But
So
as like a movie that you go to experience, I've always been a big fan of the designs in Dune, and I do feel that they, in some sense, were more exciting than the ones in this movie because they are so grounded.
Mm-hmm. How was Timothy as the main character?
Oh, he was good. He was good.
Yeah.
The entire cast was good, but
I
to
like
me,
that Paul looks right.
Yeah, he does look right. And if they do make any more movies, and I think there's a good chance that they will, and he gets like a couple of more years to mature for like the next part, he's gonna be perfect. But he's like someone that's like a little bit aloof, because the movie is like dreamlike. He's someone that you sympathize with, kind of, but at the same time, there's like something alien and distant about him.
Well, it's
Which
funny
is
how
actually
he looks so
perfect for
preppy.
like a space Jesus, and especially considering where the character is going to go, assuming that the sequels are made.
Yes, he shouldn't be too accessible, I think. Not too accessible.
In these beginning shots of the movie, he looks so preppy and like skinny. Then when he's in the desert suit, he looks like he fits the role so much better. It's funny.
Yeah. But his acting is really good and all of that.
Yeah,
so
he's
like
very
all the actors are good. But to me the standout was Stilgar, Javier Bardem.
Mm-hmm. Javier was good, huh?
He was really good.
How would you sell this now that you've seen it? How would you sell this best so that the people that would like the movie would find the movie, that would understand to go see it? Did something come to mind where how do you think it should be communicated? Because it's not for everyone, but that's okay.
No, far from everyone. This is never not going to be any kind of Lord of the Rings success, and it was never going to be.
Yeah.
Because this is a far more intellectual story than Lord of the Rings ever was, and that alone is something that's going to limit the appeal, because it's something that's going to be more challenging just to follow up on the story, just to follow the story, because it isn't explained to you in detail. You have to like read it visually to get everything or as much as possible out of it. So how to sell it? That this movie isn't a movie but an experience. It's something that you have to go and experience on the big screen, and then it's something that you have to analyze and that you have to decipher to fully appreciate, and sell it that way. It's going to appeal to the built-in crowd, and at the same time it's going to, probably just saying that, is going to alienate those that weren't going to be into it in the first place.
Exactly. Well, how refreshing that we have something truly different to see. It sounds like exactly what I was hoping, that it wasn't just a cookie cutter, just like every other film, that this is more like a classic film that, you age with and you think about, and it doesn't, come to you completely until later. I've been hungry for that. Maybe the world's ready for it right now. After everything that's been going on over the last few years, it feels like we need something different.
So
And
Preston,
I also have to digest it more. So these are just my initial thoughts,
right.
and I have a full review because I have to digest it a little bit more before I have
Right.
that.
And then Preston Bruno says, so where does it end compared to the book?
It ends. It ends with Paul and his mother Jessica joining the Fremen. That's where it ends. So they have met up with the Fremens, but they have not yet entered a siege. So they meet up in the desert, and some stuff happens that I'm not going to go into details, and then they end up joining them, and that's where it ends.
So basically about where I'm showing here on the screen, probably. Renegade sends in $20, Valiant, that is. Dune should be more intellectual if it's an honest adaptation. If it's like 1984, but more story honest, that is a great sign. I wanted a blend of 1984 and 2000. Have faithful story, meet scale, budget. Should be a theater only.
Valiant, then I don't think you'll be disappointed, because that's kind of what this is a little bit. It's even more dreamlike than the theatrical version of 84, but with a fully realized ambition of 2000. That's what this is. And yes, the image that you have on screen, that's pretty much the final scene.
Costumes look badass, but that one guy, it's bothering me. The guy second from the right, it looks like he's got a phallus on his thigh.
That's Javier Bardem.
Yeah, that's Javier
I can see
Bardem.
what you're saying there.
Yeah,
it does look.
Somebody should have caught that.
He's just happy to see you.
I mean, from what you said, Andre, about those other two gentlemen you spoke with, this movie, for all its intellectual aspects, seems to still be accessible to the average moviegoer.
But these people weren't average moviegoers.
Okay, I misunderstood.
These people are people that weren't familiar with the source material, but both of them are above average interested in film. So I don't think that they are fully representative of the general audience. But what is promising is that they are someone that know and appreciate film, that weren't too familiar with the source material, and they loved it.
So it seems like there's rewatchability here, so that's a plus.
I would absolutely say that there is. If this is a movie that doesn't turn you off on first viewing, it's one where I would say that multiple watches are mandatory, just to pick everything up.
People ate up that Mad Max reboot with a spoon. They'll love this.
Well, the other thing that it strikes me is this would be nice to support for all the people that sort of complain. This was never going to be for people that only like Fast and the Furious type films.
No.
So, but I think this is an opportunity, globally, for people to speak up and say, look, if we want true, diversity of thought and diversity of films coming out, you need to support this film in the theater. You need to make the effort to vote with your wallet so that we don't only get one kind of story, that we do have some films that have a little bit more challenge in them. And even if it doesn't come easy, you may not like all of the film, you may not agree with all of it, at least it's challenging. Honestly, and the fact that it's challenging is so refreshing, because we rarely talk about a film going, oh, I need to think about this movie.
The more Andre talks about it, and the more I've seen of the film through the previews and the behind the scenes featurette and all that kind of stuff, even though I can see this day and date on HBO Max, which I, kind of have been all these movies, I haven't, gone to the theater yet since the whole lockdown. This will probably be the first one besides probably Ghostbusters that I go see. And I'll go see it right away, but then I'll watch it on HBO Max right after.
And I think that seeing this on HBO Max is actually doing it a disservice, because Villeneuve is right. This is a movie that was made for IMAX. It's made to be experienced. But I really have to go here. So before I do, are there any other questions, specific spoiler, non-spoiler?
In here, or?
I have one question. Now, seeing as this is a movie that you're going to want to see more than once, and you're saying that you should see it on the big screen. Now, back in the day, that means you'd be going back to see it next week. But now you're going to go home and watch it over and over on HBO Max because you already saw it on the big screen.
Probably that's what it means. And I think that's fine, because then you have the experience of being overblown one time, and you're never going to have that experience again watching this movie, because, yeah, of course you love it, but nothing is going to be like the first time that one experiences. But seeing it again on HBO Max after that, that's where I think you're going to pick up the subtleties in the story and everything like that that you'd miss by just being blown away by like how big everything is on the big screen later.
Do you think the money will equal out for the studio for that?
Sorry, do I think?
Yeah, how do you think the money will work on that?
I think that they are already resigned to that this is not going to be profitable in its own right. They've already indicated that they'll be looking at what's the interest on HBO Max, and if there's sufficient interest, they're going to continue with the franchise. Honestly, I think it's a very, very good chance that that we are more likely to get a sequel under that regime, because now you just have to consider every single big budget movie a loss. Not a single one of them is going to make back the kind of money that they were planned to make when they were greenlit. Not a single one of them. This way, Dune now has an excuse for underperforming, and relative to its budget, I do believe it would have done that. I think that this is a movie that, just like Blade Runner 2049 before it, is one that has a certain appeal, and they spent more money on it than was justified for the size of the audience that is going to gulp this up.
That's a gorgeous shot right there.
Yeah,
that's from Blade Runner.
Is it?
Yep.
Yeah, that's from Blade Runner.
Yeah. There's no. Yeah, that image could have been from. Yeah, the previous image. That's one that could have been from David Lynch's Dune, whereas all the colors are a little bit more subdued, and muted. Exactly, like this image that you're seeing right now. That's as colorful as anything is going to get in this movie, because there's explosions. And yeah, there you have like Beast Rabban. He was so good. Like the one scene when he expresses frustration, he's so good.
Well, are you going to be able to come back in after you leave?
I not anymore for today.
Okay.
I don't think.
All right. Well, we'll grab these last few super chats then, and there was other questions, but we'll have to wait for them for the morning. House Atreides says, "Yes, I want to see it so badly. I can't imagine why you would, House Atreides."
He'll be glad to hear that there's loads of shouting. House Atreides in the movie. So like the real cheerleaders there.
Professor Gray sends in another $2 super chat. Thank you so much. So nerd fans will love it, normies will not, is what he's asking.
I think there's a very good chance that's going to happen. Yeah.
Interesting, because I was curious. My other big question, I guess, before you go would be, do you think this has the potential to do kind of like what Lord of the Rings did? Maybe not financially because of the situation, but maybe
no, I don't think so.
Culture wise, no. All right.
I think of course it's going to do that, but to much fewer people on a much smaller scale. Like Lord of the Rings, when it came out, that was like a generational movie. Everyone and their mother and the grandmother to boot went to see Lord of the Rings. That was never going to happen with this movie. It doesn't have that kind of wide 4-quadrant commercial appeal. It simply doesn't have it.
Yeah, what sucks more so is we got to wait over a fucking month to see this. Why didn't they only do it for two?
Well, you know what? The silver lining there is that if he says this is good, we could get a swell behind this thing, you know?
Maybe. And I think maybe that's what they're hoping for. Red Tigress sends in $2 and says, "Yes, this seems what I hoped for." And hopefully that's the case, Red Tigress. It sounds like, for the most part, Andre's happy with it. I'm sure he'll get into.
I'm for the most part happy with it. I would have liked it to be a little bit more clear from a narrative perspective. Maybe left some of the scenes which I thought were the best scenes in the script still in there, which didn't happen. But this plan on like creating as well behind it for the US release again, this is a movie that I think is going to be. It's going to be really strong feelings one way or the other. Those that are prone to appreciate this kind of movie, they're absolutely going to love it. Those that go in expecting Lord of the Rings and are bred up on Marvel movies and Fast and the Furious, I think opinions among that crowd is going to be significantly more mixed, and that's the bigger crowd.
Is it weird enough to make a normie curious?
That's actually really difficult for me to answer because I know this too well. I follow this production too closely that I have a really hard time trying to imagine what it would be like for a normie. Again, I think it's going to depend entirely on the individual, which is why I think it's going to be divisive in that way. And I think it's going to be more divisive among normies who are the ones that aren't necessarily primed to like it. I think that's where you're going to have like the biggest division.
We're all gonna have to be weird, and when we go to see it, we'll just have to like bother other strangers after we've seen it and ask them what they thought.
Maybe.
Why
Yeah,
not? People like to talk.
but I'm serious because that's probably the way to do it. Because I don't know. Like this is it's not the most accessible movie. It most certainly is not.
Mm.
Joey brings up a point here, says the illicit drug appeal of the past generations is not there, not for the hippie crowd anymore. But see, that's the thing.
That's actually a really good point.
You can legally go see this high in a lot of places.
Yeah, I know the drugs are there. They're just not illicit anymore.
No, I believe they're called recreational pharmaceuticals now.
Exactly.
You can order them on Google.
And they do, and that's actually something that they do. They are very successfully do like the oil parallel, but at the same time, there are a couple of scenes of Paul getting really high on this stuff. And when I say high, I mean like really, really, really high. So yeah, you both have the drug aspect plus
like
the oil parallel aspect. Not quite so vivid, but he's basically sitting there in his own world. Yeah.
Annibal
You
says
just don't
either
see
good or
his
bad.
visions.
Sounds like Andre is making too many excuses for it. I will say this: the one thing I've heard Andre say as far as the negative is that certain scenes that he thought should be there were left out. That's like the most negative thing I've kind of heard you say. But
here's like the thing: it's too simplistic to say that it's good or bad. Sometimes it can be both, and it can be neither. That's why I think this movie is going to be divisive, and I think it's going to be more divisive among those that aren't familiar with the source material, and who don't usually go to more abstract movies. And that's the bulk of the audience, and that's where I think you're going to have the division between is it good or is it bad. And I think quite a lot of people are going to say that it's bad, but it's going to have some very hardcore defenders saying no, it's actually really brilliant.
Yeah, but if like stupid people say it's bad, then you know that it's smart. So then you're like, yeah, this is good shit.
That it is. But also, and I think that this is something that many people are going to react to, that it borders on pretentious, and sometimes, in my opinion, it stepped a little bit too far into the, oh, look at me, I'm such a brilliant director. Look what I can do. This is so far above you, pleb. Is a little bit like that sometimes.
See, that's my problem
especially with the score that has no melody, nothing hummable, just blaring noises.
See, I like when directors hide all their brilliant shit, and you have to look for it later.
Oh
yeah, no, there's no hiding of that here. Here's a like full display. Oh, look at me, I'm so brilliant. And that's one thing that I personally don't like with, for instance, Lars von Trier. I think that his movies are incredibly pretentious, and I don't like him or his movies because of that. This movie, to me, at times, took one step too far into that pretentious camp.
That's what I was afraid.
But again,
too,
I'm not going to downgrade it to as simple as good or bad. I will not say that it's unqualified good, because that's a recommendation that everyone is going to like it, and that's simply not the case.
Well, it
At the
sounds like
same
it just
time,
made
it's
you go
also
like.
not bad.
It sounds like it at certain points you just went, and bugged you a little bit, but then you moved
Well,
on.
I can get where he's saying
Oh,
it's a
yeah,
pretentious
absolutely.
thing, because like that's my issue with Nolan. That's my issue with some of Denny's earlier films. Like I like Arrival up until the third act. Blade Runner 2049, I liked okay.
This
but
movie also has a
overblown
third
and
act problem.
Well, at least with this film, I kind of, at least unless they change the narrative extremely, at least I know where it's going. And and it always seems like that's a logical spot to kind of take a break if you're going to take a break, even in the Lynch version. And I think that's pretty close to where they took a break in the 2000 series. So, I mean, it's that part I don't have an issue with. My issue is waiting so long, because at least with Lord of the Rings and some of these other films, they were filmed back to back. And, Denny's out there been talking about, yeah, that was my original plan. And of course, Warner Brothers nixed that idea or whatever. But that's the big question. Also, I think in the chat, besides some of the other ones, I think that we need to get answered before you do take off is, what do you think the chances of a sequel are?
It depends entirely on the HBO Max performance. They will already have written off that was ever going to be profitable under with the world the way it is right now. This movie will never earn its money back. So they'll consider it sunk cost, and they'll simply look at what kind of revenue can we expect on future installments that are actually scaled for the situation we're currently in. So if it does really well on HBO Max, if it blows up the servers there, we're going to get the sequel, and if it doesn't, we won't. And I think we are actually more likely to get the sequel under those circumstances, because I don't think that this movie would ever have made the kind of box office that it obviously needed to make, because I don't think it has the necessary wide commercial appeal to do that.
Yeah. Before we lose you, though, there's one other story that's going on today that I wanted to get your quick reaction on, but I got something to go with it anyway, since you got to take off. So, Funcom fully acquires Conan the Barbarian core characters, new game in the works. Andre, we're very, very, very close to this. What's your reaction to this?
I'm of two minds. On one hand, I think it's very, very exciting in that Fredrik Malmberg, he will continue to run the show on a day-to-day basis. He's the same guy that basically has brought Conan back from non-existence the past 20 years. The Dark Horse comic book run that really redefined the character, the McFarlane toys, the Age of Conan games, that was all him. He did all of that, or he initiated all of that. And he's still going to be there. And now with this deal, he's going to have a shit ton more money to work with. He's going to have a far more committed corporation behind him. And this is someone that already knows this brand, because they're the ones that brought it back in the games. And they only got that game license because they were super hardcore fans to begin with. At the same time, he is no longer himself the ultimate owner. He is now an employee who's working under contract. So while the deal right now is looking really tremendously good, we no longer have like that guarantee that there's like one steward looking over it. And maybe you'd need that in 10, 15 years down the line. Maybe then there's a situation where, oh shit, we wish that these people didn't own it. But as it is right now, it's the same guy running it that's been doing really good with the brand the past 20 years. And he has a shit ton of more money to work with, and all that many more licensing opportunities to go with it.
Well, you kind of gave away the clip I was going to play here, because we have an interview coming up, do we not, Andre?
Yes, we do. Like the moment we learned of this, the beauty is that we've spoken with Fredrik Malmberg before. So we I'm not going to say that we have him on speed dial, but we can reach out to him in case of news like this.
And we did. And we have an interview that's going to be dropping probably in the morning, I'd imagine. If not, I don't think it's kind of late tonight to happen, but I'm going to play a quick clip from it, but you'll be able to see the entire interview very soon here. Here's a quick clip. So, Andre, if you need to check out, I understand, but I'm going to give everybody a tease of our upcoming video. So, here we go.
So you obviously had a great working relationship already. But what precipitated going from there to an all-out acquisition, which is what now has been announced?
Well, 3.5 years ago, we did create Heroic Signatures as a jointly owned company to shepherd the digital rights for the Howard estate, for all of our IPs, actually, including Mutant Chronicles, Cult, and Mutineer Zero, and other from the games portfolio we had. This was because I saw already around 10 years ago that the gaming industry was actually surpassing the entertainment industry in both financial terms, but also in actually making your IP relevant with new generations of gamers, and they of course also look on TV and they consume comic books and so forth. So when we created Heroic Signatures, that was a way we could say we got engaged, and if that worked out fine, that would of course then lead to something more, or we would separate. And then about a year ago we started discussing what with myself and Rui Casais, who is the CEO of Funcom, we started discussing if we should explore a full it's not a merger, it's an acquisition. So that resulted in this deal that was just announced today.
So there we go. We got a little bit of clip there from the upcoming interview. I don't know if you want to comment on it more, Andre, before you go, but there you go.
Yeah, no, I just want to say that we were able to get some more exclusive information hitherto unrevealed by the rest of the press. So look forward to that. And another cool thing, though, now that Funcom owns the entire Robert E. Howard estate, in some sense, Conan is now Norwegian.
Yeah. I was just looking up this company a little bit because I don't recognize them, but apparently they're centered in Oslo. They're also in North Carolina in the United States. They have offices in Beijing, Dublin, Montreal. They do multiplayer online, which is awesome. So if they're making is this Conan going to be a massive online?
Has already been. Game? It's been that since like 2003. That's what Age of Conan is, and most recently
I actually downloaded
Conan
it to
Exiles,
Xbox, but I haven't played it yet.
So are they making a new game, or are they just going to hype up this game that they already have?
Well, they recently released an expansion pack for the one that they already have. So that obviously is going to continue, but they're working on something else as well, which he couldn't go into more details about, but they're working on more things.
Well, that's cool.
So expect plenty more Conan games, and quite possibly games of other Howard characters as well. Again, he didn't say it explicitly.
Well, they could even do if they have the one game as a skeleton, they could do massive DLCs based on characters.
I think in the interview, Andre, he may have dropped a nugget that they're working on a Solomon Kane game.
He did say something along those lines. Yeah,
yeah, he did. So keep that in mind. And I may have.
Solomon Kane is one that they're going to be pushing really hard. I did get that impression. So Razor Fist will be very happy.
I was
going to
say
that.
I might drop that video to him a little early.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're looking forward to that. And was there anything else you wanted to bring up real quick before we get everybody?
Yeah, no, I have to be off here.
I figured as much. So yeah. All right. Well, if there was nothing else, then Andre, thank you so much for stopping in. We'll get some more of your feelings on Dune real soon. I can't wait for your formal review, and of course, we'll talk to you some more about it in the morning on the morning show. So can't wait to do that.
Absolutely. Mr. Konkle, need to have you back there soon.
I think we're planning for next week. I think was the plan.
I would love to come back next week, and it's I'm really pleased you got a chance to see it, and it's always great to talk to all of you. And thank you to you and Tom for having me on.
Yeah, you don't
All
have
right,
to go
excellent.
anywhere, Tom.
Well, with
but if
that, yeah, you don't have to go. I have to be off. But so everyone, have a great continued evening, and I'll speak to you all later.
I'm actually going to ask you all your reaction to this Conan news here, but DeWall says with $10, thank you so much. Showed up late, just started watching this at 2 times to catch up. Norm passed away. Man, that's going to be tough. Yeah. Someone needs to play Dirty Deeds Done Dirt Cheap while we still can. Yeah, I hear you there. And then Preston Bruno comes in with another $2 super chat. Says, "No, God damn it, Tolly, we don't want to do spice. I just need a little spice. I get a little high. Maybe I'll be the Kwisatz Haderach." Werewolf says, "Wonder where Howard's version of Red Sonja is." It's under. Oh shit, who owns it now? I can't remember, but it's split off because of the whole deal with the Marvel version, which is the one that's licensed out right now, which would I don't think they can do Howard's version at the same time. And of course now Andre leaves and he just asked that, Werewolf. I'll try to remember to ask that of him again tomorrow, unless somebody else here knows the answer to that, possibly in the chat if not. But yeah, it's Andre did a video about it a little while back. I suggest checking that out. He does explain a lot of it there. So yeah, so what's your guys' reactions to this Funcom sale for Conan here? I mean, this is a kind of a big well, you Jesse are a gamer, so how do
the one that's the big MMO, that's Conan Exiles?
Yes.
I believe so, yes.
Well, I could get that on PlayStation for $17. Sounds
Yeah,
like
I
a
actually
hell
got
of
it
a
for
good deal
free
to me.
last month on Xbox.
That ain't bad.
I mean, at first glance, like Andre said, I think this is a good deal for Frederick and the ability to do more with Conan, but I'm a little leery on the future side of things. What about you, Script?
I'm not so sure. I mean, it's always weird when you get a corporation owning a character as opposed to like an individual who can at least have a bit more attention to it. But again, I don't know much about this company. So yeah,
Well, I believe it's owned by Tencent, which is actually a Chinese company, but they're pretty hands off from what I've heard.
Tencent's not normally a hands-off company, is from what I know.
Yeah, I don't know. That's what they were saying on one end, but I haven't really checked into them yet. Culture, do you know anything about Tencent? And you know anything about...
Tencent's not a good company to have owning something like that. Tencent, they make a lot of mobile games. They invest in films. They're not as, I think they're not as friendly to consumers as maybe Wanda Group is, although that's hard to say nowadays with what they're doing with Legendary. With that being the news, I am kind of concerned, although the stock market in China has been tanking like for a while now.
Okay, well, here's my knowledge of the chain of command. Yes, Tencent owns Funcom, but Frederick answers to the guy who owns Funcom or whatever now.
Okay.
So I don't know on that part how bad it'll be, but yeah, it'll be interesting to see how it goes. Tencent also owns Cryptic, which owns Star Trek Online, according to Mad Stan.
Mm-hmm.
So Tom Konkle, what is your reaction to this? I wonder how you feel about this.
I know it's
a filmmaker, and you make your own IPs in a way.
Funcom, I know their acquisition of Conan and the other cabinet properties aren't going to affect the Conan series, and it shouldn't affect the ongoing comic. It's always interesting, Funcom it's a Norwegian company, correct? It's
yes, originally based out of Norway.
So it's interesting, when your IP goes, I would love, something that I created to go out to it has to be the right combination of people who get it. Obviously, it has to be, developed by people who have some kind of vision on it. I guess anytime that you have someone acquire, something from Robert Howard's universe, you kind of have to wait and see, like, are they going to get it? Are they going to quote unquote improve it? It's who's going to, you have to have someone with a vision. It can't just be a committee that takes it as just a piece of property. That's the death of creativity and the death of something good. I hope someone has acquired it because they have a vision for it, and that they will honor the original intent of the property and not just use it as a platform and make it generic barbarian game. Right.
Well, again, Andre has this interview dropping. He does get quite a bit more into it. So I don't know all the ins, I edited it real fast. So I didn't retain everything, but I do remember him talking about how this will open up, avenues to more money, to where they can do more projects on their own and not have to worry about, getting outside help and stuff like that. And
that's great.
Can,
that
start
is pretty good,
forward on projects without having to get other people involved. And he talks a little bit more about Netflix and a few other things. So I think you guys, if you're fans of anything that's Funcom related or Conan / Howard related, you'll probably get a kick out of the interview. But yeah, I think there is a little bit to worry about, but maybe Annabelle's right here. The China model is unsustainable. The CCP will collapse and Tencent will be forced to auction off their properties. Well, if they do, then maybe we should get our hands on Conan or the Howard property.
Well,
we'll get with Razor Fist and we'll all get together and
I will throw in my nickels. But like you said, I mean, with what's happening in the market there right now, there's kind of only one stock market in the world that everybody's trading on again, and it's in the United States. So we'll have to see. I mean, they've taken massive hits over the course of the last few months. This is very similar to what happened with them in 2015. So that's another reason why I believe that they're pulling back fairly substantially and pulling back into themselves in a lot of different ways. And they've ramped up their censorship again and the whole 9 yards. So we'll see how this goes.
Yeah, agreed.
Whim says first Dune, now gaming stuff. Snore. I hear you, got us a whim, but the only other real news was the sad news about Norm, and then the announcement about a 33-year-old film that hasn't happened yet.
Well, you guys had me all up in the PlayStation store. I just went through everything about this Conan game. There's 2 years. That's 8 DLCs so far. So the whole all-encompassing everything version is $129.99, which I think I might have to drop. It looks like an Elder Scrolls game.
I've heard it's pretty decent. Yeah, I haven't played it.
Except that there's just part where the dude gets up on this big rock thing that's sliding down a snow mountain, and he's firing arrows off that bitch while trying to stay on it. That looks pretty cool.
So wait a minute. You said a 30-something-year-old film. Are you guys talking about Megapolis? Is there movement?
No, we're talking about.
I'm sorry.
Talking about Triplets.
You woke me up. I was like, what?
What movie? Sorry, you guys are talking over each other. I have no idea what movie you're talking about.
Oh, sorry.
I said we were talking about Triplets, a movie that was announced 33 years ago.
Oh, right. Yeah.
But there was this other news. I did forget about this, and then Script reminded me. Universal is now Christopher Nolan's home, so I owe somebody $5. But hey, I was close. I knew it was going to be someplace like that.
Yeah, I knew he was shopping around after the whole incident with Warner's and dropping all the things on streaming. I knew he was out the door, and it's a real coup for Universal to get him there because inevitably he's going to have a hit for them, and Universal needs one.
Yeah.
And,
well, that's going to bolster their streaming service for after the theatrical window date too.
Yep, exactly. It's very smart, and it's an interesting subject. We surprisingly don't have a lot of films about that era, and it would be very interesting to see his take on Oppenheimer and the development of the bomb and everything that was going on there. That's an area that's kind of ripe for a cool story if he's got one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a lot of the World War II films that we do have in our archives are really just frontline skirmishes and trench war and things of that nature. You don't get as many cool suspenseful ones about the strategy and the new weapons that they had to develop.
Exactly. And how close Germany was to developing their own bomb.
Yep.
And our Germans being better than their Germans. So it'll be really interesting to see what they come up with.
That and the whole arguments over the plane, how to reinforce the planes. And everybody's like, oh, we got to patch up where their bullet holes are hit. And they're like, no, we got to patch up where the bullet holes didn't hit the plane because that's what survived to make them get here. It's like,
yeah, that's true. That's true. It could be really interesting to see his take on it. And I'm glad it found a home there. And I knew it wasn't going to be Warner Brothers because Warner Brothers has been super unfriendly to art. I've dealt with them before too, and unfortunately they just don't get it right now. Whoever's in charge,
they really don't.
Doesn't get it. Yeah,
they've like they're young, like they're low level people that I pitched to, got my stuff, and then when it got up to that next level, they didn't get it, and in my opinion, they lost a lot of potential money from that.
Oh yeah, it's like, well, the phone company doesn't understand you. Okay, then
this is before the phone company, though. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I had to deal with the phone company. So yeah, it's they're going to need to clean house and find people that realize that the assets are the people and the people that come up with stuff, and stop treating them like widgets. Or they're just going to scare everybody away, because they used to have a great reputation of like, hey, I'm at Warner Brothers and that's the cool place. That's where the cool kids are.
Yep.
Yeah.
So,
instead of, hey, that's a great idea, let me buy it out from under you, then I'll just change everything about it, and then I'll lose all my money again.
You're right. You're absolutely right. And a company's only as good as its people, and this is a good lesson for them to not scare away all their talent.
Yeah, it's been basically a downward decline for the last 15 years, I'd say, for Warner Brothers would be the proper time window, I think. Yeah, 15 years seems about right.
Yeah, a lot of misfires. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I thought he'd end up at Sony, but no, I'm not surprised he's over at Universal, and they've got the money to back him. Sure, Tenet wasn't. I don't know. I've only watched.
I don't think he's ever going to own Tenet's failure to the proper parties involved, which is mostly him.
I think this is a safe project for him to jump to after Tenet, I believe.
Yeah,
I hope so. Yeah.
And you know what? Not everything he does is going to be fantastic. He's, it's a misfire. He probably learned a lot from it. Not every one of his films is going to be great, nor should they. It means you're not challenging yourself if they're all that way. I'm a huge Nolan fan, and I didn't think Tenet was his best work by a long shot. It also wasn't helped, that the release pattern that it was given. But you know what? Maybe one setback, and that's the exact thing to make you hungry again, and you do your best work after it.
They advertised that movie to the nines, as far as I'm concerned, and it just didn't interest me.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just really hoping he goes back to like the model he had for when he was directing The Prestige, because he kept things focused and tight. And I mean, it's an adaptation, but with this one here, he's adapting a real life event, and obviously has to punch it up for dramatic purposes. But I really hope it gets him back to the form that really put him on the map beforehand, because it was right after he did Prestige, Batman Begins, Prestige.
He was on a roll.
They basically just gave him blank checks, and that's the worst thing you can do to a director, is give him a blank check, because it's fun. It's very fun. You can do a lot with that stuff.
Inception was great, but as far as I'm concerned, it was like every other film after that. Like Inception was great, but Interstellar was until the end. The end went off the rails, and then Dunkirk I liked, but then I couldn't get through fucking Tenet.
Yeah, Tenet was his misfire. You're right, Tom. But you know what? It's better that he's doing that kind of stuff on his own. I mean, we don't have a lot of guys that have the power to be able to say, I want to make this movie. So I'm excited. I think he's at the height of his powers, and hey, I'm jealous, man. If I was in his position, I'd do the same thing. It's like, I want to make this stuff. Yeah. He's a guy who makes arty films that play like blockbusters, and that's a very rare thing.
Now, what about a Christopher Nolan or a Hellraiser movie?
That would be wild. I would love to see him do a horror movie, actually. I think he'd be great at a horror movie.
Well, he worked on Insomnia, which was kind of a suspense thriller. So
Insomnia was a crazy movie, man.
Yeah.
Like that.
And,
that was like
Memento,
serial killer, man.
Memento was great too, actually.
Everybody loves that movie, and I couldn't do it.
Oh, I love that movie.
I never met anyone who doesn't like that movie except for me.
Which one, Memento?
Yeah,
I like it, but I've seen a lot of movies like it. One of his more untalked about, or ones that aren't talked about as much as the Insomnia, I thought was pretty good. Wolverine 626 says, check out Bob Ross's Netflix documentary. It's a nice tribute to the man, not a hit piece, but it is critical of his business partners. See, I mean, I've heard a few things about it, but I might check it out.
I recently signed a petition about Bob Ross because his family doesn't get the money from any of that, so they're trying to get the rights back to his name.
Oh wow, they don't get any money from
wow.
That's not right.
How did Culture that get pulled off? Yeah,
probably some ex-wife or some shit. Hey, Culture. What's your thoughts on this whole Christopher Nolan thing?
Well, you and I talked about it a little bit this morning, and I'm happy for him. I was this morning. I'm equally happy. They'll take very good care of him at Universal.
Yeah.
I don't think they're going to give him a blank check. I think that was a mistake. I think, but I think that he makes great stuff, and I believe that this Oppenheimer film, is going to be good just because of his involvement. And as Tom Konkle said, we don't have a lot of films that are about that period of time, and it's about high time we do. We got to honor these people that beat the Germans to this technology.
Absolutely. It was talk about your technological thriller. That was that bomb changed the world, and it would be interesting to have someone like Nolan really be able to execute that story on so many levels and handle all of it, with the kind of finesse that he's able to do. I think it could be great. It could be like what they did with The Right Stuff. That was a great film about the actor.
Yeah.
Well, that's where I was saying it's kind of safe for him now, especially after Tenet. I mean, he's got a predetermined story, kind of like he has with some of his other bigger hits, to where there's not really much he can do to venture unless he does something really fucking insane anyway.
No, I think he's going to be more conventional after Tenet. I think Tenet will have changed him.
Yeah.
It would me, it's like, okay, I pushed it as far as I could. I'm obsessed with time and different things. Okay, now I'm going to try something else,
I'll give it another shot, but and it's not that I didn't understand the film. I got to that scene where they're talking at the restaurant and she's talking about her husband and whatever. And I'm just like, I'm not invested in this. I don't give a shit about any of these characters. I kind of get what's going on, but I don't care.
It was a cold film. The mistake that Nolan made, I think, is that he loves virtuosity and the technical. And the best films that he does, he has an incredible performance behind it, like Dark Knight with the Joker, or Insomnia, or the ones we were talking about. With that, it's no secret, the character was named the protagonist. He was not interested in the chess pieces. He was interested in the game. And the game is like watching a virtuoso do math. You don't have an emotional investment, but you're really impressed with the equations that he can come up with. And the problem with Tenet is it needed emotional involvement. And maybe, if I were him, I'd look at it and go, what happened? And I'd say, what? What happened was I was obsessed with the technical virtuosity of pulling off time going forward and back, but I forgot to make people care. And you have to have that moment where you're invested in the character, or it doesn't matter how much of a virtuoso you are, how technically proficient you are, because then it's like watching someone do math. And that's the death of film right there, because now you're one step away going, yeah, that's a great shot. And I love how he did it in reverse. And he did it, but you don't care. What you want is that perfect balance of, I don't know what they did to make me feel this way, but I feel like this main character right now. I feel like I just lived whatever story it was. That's that sweet spot that we all try and shoot for, and only a few films hit. So maybe he just needed to go wide of the mark and come back to it, because I know he's got it in him. He's a great filmmaker.
Maybe they do it too much like a production line, and not enough like they read the script and like watch the movie in their head and think about it. Maybe it's just too much like work.
Well, I think
it's actually worse than that, because Nolan is so infatuated with the idea. He doesn't put in the effort with regards to researching and exploring that idea to see if it's sound. And that's something, as a result, his films become very detached. Like when you take a look at something like, for instance, Inception, he didn't research anything about actual dreams and how they function in our world, but he tries to make it so grounded in reality that anyone who has a cursory understanding of dreams knows that so much of the stuff that they're doing in that movie can't be done. And he doesn't put in the effort to give us an explanation as to why they can be in this universe.
Yeah, but
he just skips right over it.
Here's the thing about that film that's different as far as Inception goes compared to something like Interstellar. Inception's like Jaws. I don't give a fuck how it works. I'm invested because of the characters.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's mostly Marion Cotillard's character that makes the investment. Everything else around it is
Leo's.
They're all thin.
His whole thing of what he's doing, and I get what you're saying, Script, from a writer's standpoint. I do. But that's where, tangentially, that's where I was able to at least attach myself to the story. With Tenet, I didn't have that. You can do whatever you want fantastically with the story, and I don't care about you giving me, something that's scientifically accurate so much if it's artistically accurate. You need to get me invested in the story. If I'm 40 minutes into the fucking movie and I don't give a shit about any of these characters, then you have failed.
Right.
On the other hand, we have Armageddon.
Yeah, you're watching pieces
Exactly.
move around.
Great
I
example.
watched-
Thank you, Jesse. Sorry, Tom. I was
Yeah.
just saying
No, go
Armageddon's a great example because it's the most unscientific fucking movie there's ever been made.
They're just like
Yeah,
an
I fucking
M80
love
in your
it.
hand, right? Blow up the asteroid.
It's like, no, you just have to hit it on the outside because it's in space, and a small implosion,
Yeah.
a small explosion will shift an asteroid. Doesn't matter how big it
It's
is.
like the Wolverine
Did you
asked
see
the
we got
question in the movie.
Aerosmith?
Wouldn't it be easier to teach
Yeah.
fucking NASA scientists to fucking drill a hole than it would be to send fucking oil drillers to the space? Yes, it would be, but the movie would be boring. So
Yeah.
Then there would be no fun scenes with Bear.
Exactly. You get a bunch of fun actors together, and you
Deep
make
Buscemi.
people care, and you forget about the science.
So, no,
and
But on top of that, they
wrong,
make a
but yeah.
better justification for it. They talk about how NASA built his drill, and it's like, no, you built it wrong. It's not going to work. It's like, okay, so how do we fix this? It's okay then, and it's like, okay, what happens in these situations? Well, we're not trained for that. Well, we are, and it takes years to learn that. Like, they actually made the effort to, even though it is crap, they made the effort to at least connect the tissue to from beat to beat
True.
to make us accept the possibility that yes, these people will have to go up there manually. With Christopher Nolan, he doesn't care about that because again, as he's made more films, he has put the concept of the story ahead of the actual tangibility of the character, and you see that quite prominently in Interstellar, where you have Matthew McConaughey, who just seems so out there, and then there's some sort of love story between him and Anne Hathaway for some reason, and then he tries to make Matt Damon crazy through isolation. Like he's just playing around with stuff he does not understand, and it's the ideas are more advanced than he is, and that's actually a very detriment when it comes to filmmakers.
That's the problem. Is he's sorry, I didn't mean to hit my mic there, but you're right. That was my problem with Interstellar was once it got to the stupid human story, like. He does invest way too much into the human aspect of that movie where it's like, but he doesn't quite understand it. Like he's really gotten to a point where I hate to say this, but he's like George Lucas. Yeah, he's like George Lucas. He's got all these grandiose ideas, and it doesn't, like I just said before, because that's where I stole that fucking saying from, was when George Lucas says, I don't care if it's scientifically accurate, I want it to be artistically accurate.
Hey, look, George Lucas almost stood up to Axel Foley in Beverly Hills Cop 3, okay?
He did almost.
He did
almost, kind of, maybe.
Well, here's the other thing too. The difference between Nolan and Lucas is that George Lucas is purely experimental on film. Nolan thinks he's a philosopher and he's not quite there yet. He has to have other people in the room with him that know the stuff well so that they can shape his intent into the thing that he has a goal for it. And he doesn't really get that too much in current movies because, again, when you're given a blank check by Warner Brothers because you made some really impactful films, anyone that probably frustrated you to get those initial movies made or put a restraining on you to exercise your creativity, you don't need them anymore. You can fill someone else in those roles, and then you can just let the art, so to speak, come to fruition. And I mean, we've seen now 4 movies of him doing straightly that, and Tenet being the one that really backfired on him. And hopefully that probably will make him think, to the earlier parts of his career, is like, you know what, some of those voices, some of those people that questioned me, they were the most useful people I had in the room because they actually challenged my idea and they made me either have a stronger conviction as to what I was doing was right, or made me reinforce the idea I had to make sure it would work. And that's usually what you need in a good team for a production, is you want to make sure that you don't have a whole bunch of yes men, but you have a bunch of people who are like, you know what, I like that idea. Maybe there's a hole in it here, or maybe there's a little flimsy there. Let's try and work on those parts so that we can make your idea the reality you need it to be.
But it needs a little ornamentation. See, this might seem a little hippy dippy, but I look at like music. I like music, right? So in music, you have keys and you have modes, right? So each one of those is like, you're red, and then you have all your shades of red, and you're blue, and you have all your shades of blue. But like Chris Nolan always he's like the Lego Batman. I only work in black and sometimes very, very dark gray. And it's like, dude, explore a little bit. It's okay. You're still.
But
cool.
if he found other colors, he would do something amazing, right?
Yeah.
Well, I like this.
Just open up a little bit.
I got this up here on the screen. Adam Wolford says, the meme on Facebook about Christopher is, I'm going to detonate a nuke in my movie. Normal people using CGI, right? Christopher says, no.
Not this time.
I'm going to say something here. And
Go ahead.
It's the most unpopular opinion in the room. I liked Tenet.
Well, I was going to ask you about that. I thought I remember you saying that, Culture.
Yeah, I like Tenet. I've seen the film 4 times. I understand everything that you said. I agree with almost all of it, except I'd still, if it weren't for the stupid sound editing problems that he has consistently, I enjoyed the film, and I've seen it in multiple formats now, and it worked for me. Again, but I've looked at it like, an intellectual exercise, and trying to make his thoughts about this science like make sense to me.
Yeah, the science. I don't know.
That's perfectly valid.
Yeah, but at the same time, I mean, like I said, I mean, I can see why people, don't like it. I secretly hope that somehow with this Oppenheimer film, he's able to link all of the crazy films that he's made together.
Oh, I will watch it, because I'll tell you this right now. He got a higher price point for his Blu-ray, so you damn right I'm gonna fucking watch it, because I spent an extra, what was it, $5 or $10 for his fucking 4K Blu-ray than in the normal price. Bullshit.
Exactly.
I remember a lot of people were griping about that, because anyway, E. Clay Thomason says there was a great overlooked TV series a few years ago called Manhattan. I kind of remember that. It's centered on Project Y at Los Alamos. Canceled too soon, but a great watch. Yeah, vaguely remember that. I don't know if Script, you or Tom or anybody remembers that show or came.
Yeah, I didn't see it. No, I didn't see it.
I think I remember posters for it, but I don't think I saw it.
Yeah. Like I vaguely remember it, but yeah. Then we had another, maybe Human says Nolan is a robot, confirmed. Humans do not compute. Yeah, he likes to think he's Kubrick, but he's more Lucas. Lindsay, here's the funny thing about that Aerosmith song. That was their first #1 hit.
Which is crazy, because they have way better songs.
Yeah. They had tons of top 40 hits.
Interesting.
Hit real close. I believe their biggest one before that was either Janie's Got a Gun or Lovin' an Elevator. Hit
Lovin' an
Elevator. But those are good songs.
They're great songs.
See that? I can hear it. Oh my God. Dude, I couldn't stand 1 second of listening to that song ever, and I still can't. It's a terrible song. I don't care if it's #1 for the rest of the time. It's a piece of shit song. They could have just played literally any other era. Dude, Sweet Emotion. They could have just used Sweet Emotion.
Yeah. They could have used Dream On. That's a great one.
Dude, for real, right? Totally fits. Fuck it. What the hell?
Actually, one of, or if not both of those, are on the soundtrack too.
Play it again. They got a lot of albums.
I don't hate the song, but I understand it because it's also written by What's Her Face.
Oh,
I think
it's
she
so
also
melancholy.
wrote It's been a long road getting.
Oh yeah, with
old.
Carol
Oh,
Bayer
yeah.
Sager. Yeah.
That sounded like a Rod Stewart song too, and it's like, what?
He did sing a version of that, actually.
I know.
Yo, my mother loved Rod Stewart, and she dragged my father to go see Rod Stewart twice.
What is it with that? Like, he is the ugliest motherfucker in the world.
And he gets a new 20-year-old blonde wife every 5 years.
He just turns him in for a new model like a car.
Yeah, he's got
Well,
like
Tom Cruise does that
kids.
too.
Yeah, but we know Tom Cruise is just doing it for the image.
Rod Stewart's got like 70 kids, and he's like, he knows all their names.
Tom Cruise is bananas. I mean,
well, Scientology, man, it's a cult.
Heck, I'd still work with him because the way I've seen him talk and how other writers that have worked with him talk about him is like he's the coolest guy who's all about making sure the story's great. Yeah, he loves us. He loves guys like me and Tom.
For people who've talked to him and met him, I've heard nothing but good things. But I'll tell you this: I got to ask you guys.
I have a story about Tom Cruise because they shot part of War of the Worlds in Naugatuck, which is my hometown. But he went to some local restaurant, get some takeout food. He left $5,000 in a tip cup for some kid.
Jesus!
Wow!
Oh my God,
that's great.
Wow. That's
crazy.
Oh, yeah.
I've heard he's got incredible work ethic, and he really knows how to make movies. He's learned everything about it. And as crazy as he is, he'll do these incredible, like you were saying, magnanimous moments where he'll just, give some.
Yeah, it was
he's
like,
so giving,
one of
or
those fundraisers for a sick kid, so he just dropped it.
Yeah, exactly. And you're like, wow, you take the good with the bad. He's crazy, but he's also got some good crazy in there.
I would say he's on the fun eccentric side.
He's got to have more money than God at this point.
The kind of guy you like. I'd imagine in real life he's probably like Neil Patrick Harris is in Harold and Kumar.
That would be fucking great.
I don't know about
then
that,
we could chill.
NPH is another really cool dude. It's funny that you bring him up. He's a really cool guy.
All I know is that when he decides
Vegas, that he shows true colors.
when Tom Cruise is like 80 and he says, you know what, I'm gonna cut back a little bit on the stunts for my Mission Impossible movies. That's when I'm gonna try and get it, meet up with him and be like, dude, let's just make like a TV series where you can still do your movie, but let's do have my Mission Impossible back on TV again.
There you go.
He's back. And he's the same age as the title number, MI 66.
Oh my.
See, the whole thing though is that I have to toss it out there. L. Ron Hubbard was once interviewed in Reader's Digest, and he said he came up with the whole Scientology thing because he was tired for being paid pennies a page writing science fiction.
That's right. And it was a tax dodge too. He started a church so he didn't have to pay taxes. He moved to Paris, California, which is I go through there all the time.
Yeah, and then when that didn't work anymore, he moved on to a boat in the middle of the Mediterranean.
Exactly.
A large number of questionable things.
One thing that always fascinated me is I always thought there'd be way more liquor shops in Paris, California than there actually are. There's like none.
You would think you would need a lot more on every corner.
Yeah, exactly.
I have to drive through there all the time to see my parents. And
Where the fuck are you taking me?
There's a notable lack of liquor stores.
Mag sends in a $1.99 super sticker with a heart. Thank you so much for that. One rough girl also sends us a super sticker. It is a tired cup of coffee, it looks like. Oh, well, sorry you're tired. Hopefully we can pick you up just a little bit. We're winding down here, but maybe we can pick you up a little bit. Nikki D sends in $5. Thank you so much, and is also a client. I see there. She's a member. Hail, gents. Is it just me, or is the dialogue in most modern mainstream film and TV more infantile and derivative than past generations? If so, why? Well,
dude, what they do is they just write what they think would come out of the person's mouth, and they leave it. But instead of going back over it one more time to see if it actually fits some kind of structure to make a story, and they could still make it sound like it came out of somebody's mouth and make it organic, but then they don't. So it's just a bunch of
that's
stupid,
the beauty of
improvisation.
Yeah, that's the beauty of like Tarantino, though. Even though his dialogue sounds like it's natural, it's not. It's like a song. It's not the way people normally talk, but it's just the way he puts it together.
Stylized.
But Tom, script. I gotta get your reaction to this super chat, because I mean, clearly you guys deal in that every day.
Yeah, I know. I go ahead, script, because you and I
just talk about how much fun we had, like while we were writing the dialogue for the script we just finished not too long ago. It's like we were just throwing out cool little phrases and stuff, kind of on the improv, and then refining it as we went before we put it down to the draft. I thought that because we were working, I guess, not so much on a deadline, we had a little bit more time to play around and get those lines sounding right, or at least get them closer to where we are, and to develop and massage them into the actual story to actually have fun. Yes. One of the things that I always hate hearing about, especially from some of my friends that do have staff writing jobs, is like, oh, they have 3 days to turn in, a 45-page script. It's like they don't have a whole lot of time to really sit down and think about the best wording of all the stuff. It's just get it down so that they can start pre-production, and hopefully you can kind of like rewrite or resubmit before they actually get to the shooting date, and give everybody enough time, especially the actors, to commit the pages that they're shooting that day to memory and then go for it. So it's all scheduling that kind of hinders some parts of creativity, and then there's other parts where the writers just don't want to put as much effort into it.
Well, it's if I can jump in, for me, I'll agonize over a script or lines, because I love lines that have one meaning but resonate through the rest of the story, or you find that one line that encapsulates a whole theme, and you're like, oh, that's so clever. But the problem is the method of manufacture, either it's television or movie, demands nothing of the person who can give you notes or the person that you have to gatekeep through. So I can craft a script for a year where every little piece needs to pay off, but someone can read it on a very superficial level. And if they're paying for it, or if they're distributing it, they can just strip it, clean of it. Why are you saying that? Why are you being flowery? Why are you doing this? Or can we lose this line? And you have to explain to them, well, if we lose this, then it causes a domino effect. I don't care. Just lose that. Okay, next thing you do that, and you have to listen, or you don't have a way of making the movie. And I think the art slips through. You're lucky if you can get, a third of the great ideas that you might have had through the system, because, there's so many different people that have to pee on it, that then they're the delivery system, it's the actors you have to deal with, and they have to get it. That's why I think we should appreciate when something's really good. It's a miracle.
Yeah.
And I think for me,
You said that too.
it's more prevalent now in modern day because you have an attitude where it's like, oh, I'm very sophisticated and I consume a lot of stuff and I know a lot about a lot, but feed it to me like I'm 4. Like I'm 4 years old, but give me this. I want high concept. I want a lot of great stuff, but make it really like I'm an infant, And when you're pitching to that, it's a lowest common denominator thing, and you almost have to trick them into getting some cleverness in there. And not that it hasn't always been that way. I'm sure Billy Wilder had to talk his way through. Trust me on this. Some like it hot thing. Trust me.
Yeah.
But anything going through that's clever, that resonates, that thing is a freaking miracle. And I think we need to celebrate that when it does go through, because it's so hard. If you want to have everything come through exactly how you mean it in the writing, you have to write a book.
Yeah, pretty much. Because I remember years ago, I was talking to James Wan's assistant and pitching him something, and he said, "Talk to me like I'm 4." And I said,
Yeah.
"Can I talk to you as though you have a higher opinion of yourself?" And he did not respond well to that.
Yeah, they don't like that.
No,
It's
I was learning
It's usually chilly women with big fuzzy sweaters on that come in with small notebooks, and they sit down with me in a room and they're like, "We love your stuff. It's clever. It's funny. Do you have anything simple?"
Yeah.
And it's like,
that reminds me. My old boss was in a meeting once, and somebody asked, "Why is he here?" And then he came up with the solution to the problem they had. And his boss was like, "That's why he's here. Why are you here?"
Exactly. Yeah. It's called falling upwards. They reach their level of incompetence. And
I've met
there are
many
some great people.
There are.
If you can find somebody at a studio, or if I could find a financier who went, you know what, I get you. And I know you've got my back. You're not going to make crap. I get you. That's when good stuff happens. You present something, you're like, I can execute this. I have integrity. I'm going to try and make it. And the person is confident enough that they don't have to pee all over it. They don't second guess themselves, and they trust the material. Trusting the material is something that's lost now. They just hedge their bet everywhere. And you can see it in the movie. You can feel it where they're like, they didn't go all the way with that. Or, they hedged their bet on that. And it's because they don't trust their own material. And it's like making a horror movie with people that don't know anything about horror. It's not going to be any good, and they're going to try and please everybody and please nobody.
Yeah, it's like that thing that I was talking to you about a while back. It's like I'm watching these movies and they feel like half a movie because they're not going all the way with their ideas, or they're not fleshing out everything. It's 2 hours of time, but it's really only like 45 minutes to an hour of story. And
it's a 30-minute idea.
Yeah, and it's very frustrating because you're like, there's so many great people who work really hard on this, trying to get everything they can out there, but there's what's the obstacle that's causing it to be like this? Like, what is it really? And trying to
kind of reminds me of Kevin Smith. See, because like Kevin Smith used to be a hell of a dialogue writer.
Yeah.
And then you watch something like Masters of the Universe now, and you're like, where the fuck did that guy go?
Yeah, where did he go? And it's because there's a zillion committees between him, and maybe he's just sold out.
I think it's that. But Brian asks, why does Nolan think he's Kubrick? I don't know if he thinks he's Kubrick, but he does definitely think he's.
He loves Kubrick because he's about places and about ideas, and I mean that's why he paid for the restoration in 2001.
Yeah, I was gonna say clearly he's a big influence on him though. That's a definite.
Well, actually, I think Her Majesty's Secret Service is more of an influence on Nolan because there's a lot in that movie.
Oh yeah,
Nolan copies and uses and homages into his current stuff. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Oh, he's a big Bond fan. He's a big Star Wars fan. I'd love to see Nolan do a mainstream movie like that because I think he would elevate a Bond film. Or
it's funny. Universal has a
contract with Bond
distribution on Bond.
Yeah,
that would be interesting.
And it's possible that after this No Time to Die, Bond will need a breath of fresh air. And Nolan's in a good position to get that.
and Nolan has a great relationship with Tom Hardy.
Yep.
You know what they need to do with Bond? They need to pick up with Pierce Brosnan doing one, and that will like carry over like never ended. And that kind of, and then just reset it with a new Bond after him.
I want to see Nolan do a period 1964 Bond
Yep.
with his usual group of people. You know, he always attracts great talent, great English actors, and have him just do a super styled, sleek Bond set in 1964, Cold War. He's a complete misogynist. He's a man's man. Yeah.
Just as long as it's
You
not
get some
Pattinson.
great suits.
Yeah, and lots of gray suits.
Don't hire Pattinson though. Don't.
Oh God, no.
No, I don't think he would.
That's just the thing.
You
Who
don't
has the
think he would?
charisma of a young Sean Connery?
No, I think he'd probably get a fresh-faced
Honestly,
actor
he
because
would.
he could
Probably
he'd
go,
really get a
like-
stamp on it that way.
I think you're
Nolan
right.
could get anyone he wanted. He'd probably
You're
get a
right.
fresh face.
If
Yeah.
you can't get like Henry Cavill, then yeah. And then
Yep.
like Christian Bale is too old. So
But I think
Cavill
he'd
would
probably
work.
get Michael Caine for M, but I
Yep.
don't know who he would get for Q though, because that would be again you have to have that guy with Q has to have that sly, dry wit to Bond,
John
banter
Cleese.
back and forth.
I say,
No,
no,
he's
he'd still do it.
Not gonna do it. He's
Tom,
cool.
no,
He's
Yeah.
already are.
Oh, would he still do it, Tom?
I don't think so. He's retired.
Get Eric
pretty much.
Idle. How
If
about
he makes
Eric
any more
Idle?
money, that has to go to all of his ex-wives. So he's not.
That's right.
It has to go to my ex-wives.
So
Yeah.
all their fake commercials have come true.
That's right. Exactly.
I love some of their classic commercials because I play them for Mead Radio, and it's like there's the one of like like the dentist wants his bill paid, so if the movie doesn't do well, kind of thing. And then the other one's like his mother's in a rest home and she's gonna get kicked out if the movie doesn't do well.
Yes, if the movie doesn't do well. Yeah.
And the other, I think one was about paying one of their ex-wives. So,
I think you're right.
so that's what I'm saying. Like their actual fake joke commercials have become true. So Goddess of Whim asks here, what did you guys think of the Hawkeye trailer? I'm probably in the minority. It looks cute and fun. Hawkeye is a really great role model, loving husband and father while still being a man. And thank you so much for the $10, Goddess of Whim. I wasn't as moved by it. It felt like I was watching something like a Home Alone meets Die Hard meets Long Kiss Goodnight kind of thing. Looks interesting, but again, I'm just not too sold on a lot of the modern Marvel shit. Spider-Man is about the only thing so far that I'm kind of looking forward to or have any hope for. What about you, Script?
As I said the other day, it looks like an I'll Be Home for Christmas take on a Hawkeye mission. I was not too upset by the fact that the girl is a savant with the bow and arrow, but that she's not very good at hand-to-hand combat or fighting or stealth or anything of that nature. So I get what they're going there. I think it's interesting that they have that shared thing of archery, and now he's like, okay, if I'm gonna guide and mentor you, I got to teach you this other skills that will allow you to be an archer that won't get killed, so to speak, as opposed to just a trick shot. But again, the track record for the Marvel series that I've seen so far on Disney Plus or up here on Crave has not been very satisfying for me. At least it's just they're more misses than hits, and it's unfortunate because Marvel had this great formula. Yeah.
Culture. How about you?
I have no interest in it. I think a lot of your takeaways are spot on, all of you. I didn't think I was going to like the Bishop character. Actually, to be honest with you, I think my takeaway is the same as Scripps. I wasn't actually too upset with the way that she was presented, at least not in the trailer. But I don't think it's a win. I think right now they're in the throes of a lot of somewhat disappointing things, whether it be the shows or their films. And that says a lot, because I've seen I've seen every single thing that they've put together that the MCU has been, and it seems like since Endgame they've been lost. At least that's my take.
Yeah, Endgame was their peak. I agree with you. It was definitely a creative peak and an emotional peak, and I think the series have been far less successful than any of the movies as far as creating a compelling story, or really kind of moving the ball forward with any of the characters. The jury's out. I don't like to prejudge something just based on the trailer, but I think Hawkeye could be good. Jeremy Renner's a very good actor. I do like that she's not a Mary Sue, but I want to see what they do with it. I want to be surprised. Let it be the best thing that Marvel's come out with. But
that would be nice. Yeah,
jury's still out. Yeah.
No, absolutely.
Jesse,
honestly, where's my X-Men movie? I don't give a shit. Where's my X-Men movie? I collect X-Men comics.
Well, you're not going to like the latest rumor I've been hearing.
Well, give me my X-Men movie and give me my Fantastic Four movie. That's not shit.
Culture. I don't know if you heard anything about this or anybody else here,
If you
but
bring up something I don't like, I'm gonna freak out.
you're not going.
Yesterday was this Bond bullshit where they killed James Bond. Now
I've
it's
been
gonna be
hearing the
some other
rumors that
bullshit.
they're in talks with Hugh Jackman again.
Oh,
they
great.
are.
Go fuck yourself,
I-
Marvel. Last time
okay.
I heard.
I heard
Fuck
it too,
that,
but
I'm
that's
out.
all right.
To do what? Hugh Jackman doing
I
what?
told you they're not gonna. There's only two ways they
Show
can do
tunes,
this.
bastard.
They can either keep Hugh Jackman, or they're gonna have to go way off the reservation and do something completely new and different. And it'd probably be female Wolverine. So that's your two options.
Why is that my two options? How
Because
about you
they're
just do
not gonna
fucking
reca-
Wolverine.
Because I
like
love
that's
you,
in the
Jesse,
fucking
but you got to
comics
listen to me here
that
on this
everyone
one.
like bought.
I love you,
know?
Jesse, but you got to listen to me on this one. The world has been so like used to the idea that Hugh Jackman is Wolverine. Nobody, and I mean nobody, male, is ever going to be able to live up to that.
Oh,
no
give me
matter
a
what you
fucking
want.
break. Put another guy in the costume. Look, no one's ever going to live up to Hugh Jackman as Wolverine. They're
Not
putting
for a
this
while.
fucking kid from Twilight in the bat suit.
I'm not
And
saying
you're
you're
fine
wrong.
with it. Everybody's fine
I'm
with it.
not saying you're wrong, Jesse.
Nah,
You
dude,
just got
just
to think of this
put
from
a
the normie point
motherfucker
of
in a
view.
yellow costume with some blue stripes on that bitch and have him pop his claws. Nobody's going to give two shits about Hugh Jackman.
Well, they don't even
comic-
need to use Wolverine and X-Men for a while because the initial team didn't have him. So
Yeah.
Yeah,
the thing
that's
is, I
talking
think
from
they
the
can buy
60s.
some time to get it right
if
before
you're
they
gonna talk about
bring
the
in-
X-Men, like the animated series X-Men that everybody knows. Before that, it was Angel and Beast before he was even furry, and giant size X-Men #1. That's when you brought together the modern X-Men team.
Yep.
But that's what people want.
No, I hear you, Jesse. I'm just telling you.
Give
That's
me
they're
what
too
I
afraid.
want.
They're afraid. They're afraid, and,
Yeah,
and
well,
I know why.
spines are hard to grow.
So what'd you hear, Culture? Pretty much the same thing. Is that
Yeah,
they're gonna-
same thing. Yeah, I mean, they're 2 to 3 years out from the film, and they are looking for a return of Hugh.
I think that's part of the multiverse deal is going to happen. Yeah.
Yep.
I wouldn't be surprised if he's also going to be in Deadpool 3, because there's a lot of talk about Deadpool 3 right now,
That's true.
and they got to make Ryan ain't too happy from what I've heard about certain things, so they're going to try and probably make him happy. Adam Mulford said, "Okay, I'm going to pitch the heir to the Empire. Okay, the evil blue guy is going against Luke. The evil blue guy make evil twin of Luke. The fight and the mountain explorers. Luke get the girl at the end." I think he's doing the explain it to us like we're a 4-year-old.
Like a 4-year-old. That's a
Even a
perfect pitch right
4-year-old
there.
needs more context than that, man.
Take my money.
Please. Oh shit. And then we're getting close to wrapping things up here. I want to thank Tom for joining us tonight. It's always a pleasure when we get to hang out with you. We don't get to talk too often since you've been so busy, but I'm glad you're busy. That's
It's
always
good
a
to be
plus.
busy. Yeah,
Yes, it's
thank
very-
you, Tom. It's always a pleasure. I'm really looking forward to coming back and talking with you some more.
Yeah, we're working on a date next week that you can come on the morning show again. I think we got Monday and Wednesday open, so if either of those days work for you, we're definitely open to that. If not, we can even maybe work out Friday, but just let me know, and we can definitely get that squared away. And other than that, yeah, tune in tomorrow. We're gonna drop. Actually, I think we just dropped it, or it's about to drop that interview that we did a bit of yeah, it's dropped already, so you can check that out right now on the main channel. And when you're done with doing that, why don't you head on over to the Dark Council and tell those guys over there that Midnight's Edge After Dark sent you. There's the link in the chat there. In the meantime, Tom Konkle, check out his YouTube channel. And do you have a website or anything else you want the folks to check out?
Yeah, you can check out troubleismy.biz, B-I-Z, or The Real Deal with Tom Konkle, which is the YouTube channel I have here. I'm starting to add some new content and things, and you can check out the movie.
There you go. And of course, check out Jesse Miller over at the Crow's Desk. He should be able to stream here soon. So I'm assuming you're going to be doing some Run Bitch Run theater.
Yeah, I'm probably going to play some of that later because it just looked, and yes, I can stream again. But I'm thinking about getting that Conan game. I'm going to run it past everybody, see if I can get other people.
We definitely got to get
It'll be
working
more
on
fun
that.
as a group.
We got to get working on that.
Oh, the Conan script. Yeah, we'll talk, but we just need a better cue system, basically.
Yeah,
Because
I
everybody
think
this
so.
time, as we're reading it, we're all writing down sound effects, musical cues, all that bullshit. So we're all just working better as a team each time we do one of these.
And of course, check out Culture Casino's channel where he streams nearly every single day.
Yeah, 8 times a week on my own channel, and then I think I'm up to 25 total streams a week at this point.
You're awesome, Culture. You're just trying to compete with me. I know it.
I'm trying to. Except I think I like sleep more.
And speaking of sleep, Script Doctor does tend to do that more than the rest of us, I think. No, I'm just kidding.
No, I need it. I wake up earlier.
You're a doctor. You should know better. I missed a super chat. Oh, shit. What? Thanks for letting me know, Goddess. I didn't know I did. Which one did I miss here? We got Adam Wolford's. Oh, there was one before that. Let me grab the thing here. And while I'm doing that, you got anything coming up, Script, you want to plug real quick?
No, just go see all these the channels of these fine gentlemen here. Buy Tom Konkle's movie Trouble Is My Business because it's awesome. It's a very good throwback to film noir.
I got it. Autograph.
Yeah, that's
thank you, Script.
Oh, dude, anytime. I mean, I like watching it.
And it was from Mr. Tickle Trunk, who says great Tom Konkle is here. And yes, he is.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Tickle Trunk.
We also had one from Warwolf. It looks like I may have missed you. Let me check here. Even book writers have to worry about people trying to edit their works and words in strange ways, which can damage a book in the long run, sadly. Yeah. Sorry I missed that, Warwolf. Thank you for letting me know. Goddess of Whim. I appreciate that.
That's yet another reason why old books are the best books, because they haven't been changed.
And Eric Wimberg sends in $2 and says, "Good night, gents. See you soon." Thank you so much for that, Eric. And
good night, you princes of York.
And Tom, do I have a personal channel? You're on it. Does Tom Konkle have one? Yes, he does. The real Tom Konkle.
Yeah, I just put it in the chat. Check it out.
In the chat, please check it out.
There you go. And with that, I think we're going to wrap things up because it is time for Tom to get his supper. And I think I'm going to find something to eat myself. And I'm sure the rest of us are getting hungry and whatnot. So thank you again, kids, for joining us. I'm sharing the link to Tom's channel once again in the stream.
Thank you.
In case anybody wants to grab it. And Script's got it there as well, I see. So thanks so much, guys. And we will catch you on the flip side tomorrow morning. A lot of Dune stuff to go over. So, yeah, we'll see you then.
Fuck this shit, I'm out. Fuck this.